Hi students, welcome to the week 11 overview. So where we are in our writing project 2 process is in our previous week we began to develop our paper by working on an outline in focusing on the analysis of a professional PSA, the one that you chose from the website that I provided. And now where we're going for the second half of the paper, so you'll be focusing mostly like on the body paragraphs, okay, and developing that second part of your paper this week. And so what we're doing there is we're actually creating your own PSA and writing about it. So that's going to be the focus of what we're developing for this week. So I have the writing project 2 handout reposted here. It's there if you need it. Always good to review as needed. I do have a drafting guide, and the drafting guide, it looks the same as the one from last week, same style, because they go together. But so instead of one giant long presentation, it'll be two. So this is, and I also reposted the first one here just in case you need it. But this is going to be the one that we focus on. And in this one, okay, we go through the prompt again, and then we talk about part 2 and what we're doing, our focus, how to create a PSA, the tools we're going to use. And then this slide looks very similar to the one from part 1. However, this is redesigned for you to think about your development of your PSA instead of analyzing a PSA. So a little different here in the questions and how and some of the categories. And then how to go from planning to actually creating everything for, you know, what you're developing this week. And the essay part, this is where we're focusing. It's, like I said, creating the PSA and the 2 to 3 paragraphs of your body that you'll be doing for part 2. I also have some guidance for, you know, everything that you need to make sure you have in part 2. That's really what this slide is focusing on. But also, one thing that might help you this week is how to organize your paragraphs. So not just the ingredients, but how to kind of organize those. So you can have 3 paragraphs. I might recommend this. To me, this seems more, gives you more space, gives you more to develop in your essay. And really, it's very much the same if you're going to do 3 or 2 paragraphs. It's just how you organize it. So this, you know, this one is focused on the introduction of your PSA and what everything all the need to know in that paragraph, the rhetorical choices where you're focusing on, you know, explaining how, you know, the choices you made and why and their impact, and then the process, you know, where you kind of focus specifically on the process of creating the ad, how it evolved, and, you know, things like that. The 2 paragraph way, now these paragraphs would probably be, even though there's 2, they would probably be a little, you know, robust with, you know, since you're breaking it down into 2 instead of 3, but you can do it where you kind of put the introduction of your PSA and process together and then kind of have a separate one for your rhetorical choices. And then also to kind of point your attention ahead to what's next, what we're going to be doing in the next unit. You know, where do we go from here once we work on part 2? Well, we're going to spend unit 12 kind of putting everything together, both parts together. It should be more in a draft format, so you should be developing your outline into draft, into paragraphs. If we haven't focused on the intro and conclusion that much, but this is the time when you go and kind of develop and put those together if you haven't yet. We're going to add our 2 images in and cite them. And then we're going to cite any other tools, or if you used any web sources or anything about your PSA you analyzed or anything like that, we'll make sure to cite that as well. So that's what that presentation is kind of helping you to do. The other thing I want to kind of point to is you have videos this week. Videos, this is a good one from Purdue OWL that kind of explains the importance of visual rhetoric. And you can apply what you learned here to your PSA development, but also it's good to think about it just for an actual, when you document your paper, when you format your paper, that's actually a type of visual rhetoric. And then there are some smaller videos here. These are more like, I realize you guys are not graphic designers. Some of you may have some skill there, and that's great. But you're not expected to be expert graphic designers. But looking at a few little basics on some of these topics like layout and composition, things about color and developing images, these might help you and just give you some tips while you're working on your PSA. So these are just good things to think about. And they're very easy, small bite-sized videos, easy to digest. The other set of videos I have is, this one is me just kind of fumbling my way through Canva, but I'm demonstrating how I would use Canva with the AI part of Canva. And you can apply this to any other AI that you're using if you are using that for your PSA. So this was kind of just showing you how to do that process. For anyone not using AI, you might just be using other digital tools to kind of make your PSA. This video also uses Canva, but she uses it with the basic tools and without the AI portion. So that would be a good video for anybody who is opting out from using AI for this project. Okay, and now the meat and taters of the week. I did a similar structure this week that I did the previous week, so they kind of match a little bit. And so for this week, you are planning and making your PSA. That's what this is all focused on, okay? And so I'm going to show you that graphic organizer. This is basically an organizer you can use to plan your PSA, especially this section where you're kind of thinking about what you're doing here. So this would be good to really do planning. But you can also use this and keep this open and keep track of it like kind of like a progress tracker, and take as many notes as you can while you're making your PSA so you don't forget what you're doing, because you're going to need to write about it. And so if you have this open while you're developing your PSA, while you're using your tools and taking notes along the way, that will help you have as much content as you can get. Now, 2 areas I wanted to kind of focus in on. I do want you to take note of your tools, but also any sources, tools you're using, and AI. There are some things to make sure you pay attention to. Document your prompt, especially your original main prompt that you use. Write it down here so you don't lose it. Okay, and in my demo video, I kind of show you what a prompt is when I was practicing with AI. And the other thing is, if you are using an AI tool, this information here, you'll want to document and get as much of that down as possible, because you're going to use this later in your citation, which we'll do in the next unit. So having all that information now and keeping track of it is going to be important in this project. So fill out the right side of this as much as you can, because the more you put in, the more fodder you will have for your outline and for your draft. Okay? So that is your journal for the first part here. The second part, you're going to actually put your PSA into your journal. Okay, so make sure it does not have to be the version you use. It can even be just kind of like a mock version, like you tried it and you're like, I kind of know what I want to do, but I'm going to work on it more, you can give an early version and keep working on it until the final version. So it doesn't have to be perfect. The second part, we are doing the same thing as we did previously. We're using the same, well, it's the same template, but I added to it for the second part. So let me show you what I mean. Okay, so this part, okay, I have a part 2 with a little note that you won't be making separate parts in your essay there. Oh no, a typo. Oh no. And so what you're going to be doing here is for the next parts right here, this is what you're focusing on, body paragraphs. Now, whether you do the 2 or 3, excuse me, body paragraph organization is up to you, but I did this in the 3 just so you could see what the 3. But you can look at my presentation if you prefer the 2 paragraph organization model, and you can modify the outline to do that. Okay, and then you don't have to focus on your conclusion this week. That's something you can add in our next unit. Okay, so once you all have that, I still have some of the same resources for you there on outlining if you need it, but by this point you probably have that down. And then you're going to bring that outline back over here. I would recommend putting the full version of the outline in to keep it all in one place. But if it's better for you to have a half version, you know that's fine. But having everything in one place is going to, I think, be better to kind of help you with the drafting. Okay, and that is where you want to make sure you have done as much as you can. And on your outline, I would encourage you to use full sentences and add as much as you can in the outline, because the nice thing about outlines is that you can just turn them into paragraphs if you use sentences. It's very easy to go from an outline to a draft when you have an outline with full sentences. So that's kind of the goal, is this should be kind of pushing you more and more towards a full draft that you will submit in the upcoming week. Okay, but I hope you have fun making your PSAs, and if you have any questions or need any additional help, please reach out. Have a great week, everyone.